It's the Brad and John Show.
It is the Brad and John Show. Today's date is May 12th. This is the B block, the Bravo block, which means we start right around 7:20. John, I know you're a secretive kind of person and you don't know anybody. You don't want anybody to know where you live or what kind of car you drive, anything like that. So rather than ask you specifics about who your state representative is, I'm just going to say, is Ben Keathley your state rep?
Yeah, absolutely he is.
Okay. You talked about this a few weeks, maybe months back, about the traffic calming. Do you know the latest update on this?
I do. Yeah. Well, tell me about it.
Well, first off, I'm a little bit confused. Okay. If you know what we're talking about, it started on Clarkson. Wasn't Clarkson where they started doing this, where they put these goofy little islands? Would you call them islands? But they're on the shoulder, right? Isn't that what they are?
Yeah. The official name, MoDOT calls them bumpouts.
Bumpouts, okay? And you and I, the last time we talked about this, they talked about, these will work so well on Clarkson and along road, we're going to put them on New Halls Ferry, right? Remember we talked about that? They're going to put them in NOCO?
Yeah, they had originally been planned. And then I had the piece up. Channel 4, I believe, did a piece with Ben Keathley, and they said that they were nixing the plan for the North County ones, and they were removing the ones on Clarkson Road.
I'm reading something that was sent out to constituents. Did you actually get this direct mail piece, John?
I did, from Ben Keathley.
Dear neighbor, I'm happy and proud to announce the Missouri Department of Transportation, MoDOT, has agreed to remove the controversial curb bump outs along Clarkson and Long Road. Okay, John, I've never understood this. How was that they were quote-unquote traffic calming devices? How in the world is that traffic calming? I don't understand it.
Yeah, well, I think that, as you described, Brad, what was befuddling about it is that here's what I understand the rationale would be. And the idea is, so I'm thinking of one particular stretch. If you're driving south on Clarkson Road, so anyone who's been on Highway 40, aka 64, and if you go south at the Olive and Clarkson interchange, there is, for example, a gas station and other things up on a strip mall. And you would often, as traffic backed up, you would see people driving along the shoulder if they needed to get into the mobile gas station or they needed to go get wine or a Firehouse sub. So they would drive on the shoulder. So I assumed that the bump outs were just to get people to stop driving on the shoulder, which is annoying, but made sense to me why they would want those. There was something in one of the explanations, Brad, to answer your question, where MoDOT or a road engineer was explaining that they wanted to visually make the lanes appear to be more narrow. So I don't know. I just read it as they wanted people to stop driving on the shoulder. And as you pointed out on the air, Brad, the ridiculous thing is, what are you supposed to do if there's a traffic backup and you're an emergency vehicle? They need to drive on the shoulder. What do you do if you get a flat tire? Do you have to drive another 30 feet before you pull over? So so you said that somebody sent you a copy of this Ben Keathley note, right?
Right. But more importantly, I think that during the winter with the snow plows, because, first off, what they do is their job is to clear the lanes of traffic, and then they come back and they clear the shoulders, right? How are they going to clear the shoulders with these stupid bump out things, right? You can't.
Yeah, no, it seems like something. So to me, this is the kind of thing where I'm guessing MoDOT saw this used in some other part of the country and thought it was a good idea. But I can't imagine a part of the country where this would be a good idea. Maybe to your point, Brad, if you live in a place like Texas that doesn't get any snow, maybe it's not so bad. But I don't know. It certainly doesn't seem like it would work here.
I'm reading from Mr. Keathley's letter. The bump outs, intended as traffic calming measures, instead created hazards for snow removal, emergency vehicle access, traffic pullovers, and cyclists by narrowing shoulder space. After hearing from concerned residents and holding a February meeting, I introduced HB 665 to empower communities to reject unwanted and unneeded projects. MoDOT acknowledged their responsibility in failing to notify local cities, counties, and fire departments before installation. They had apologized and committed to correcting these issues going forward. They didn't tell Chesterfield, nor Clarkson Valley, nor any of these munis, the fire departments, the emergency responders. They didn't. They just put the stupid things on the road. And not only that, I thought Clarkson was a county highway. Is that a state highway, I guess, then?
That's a great question. It is 340. So would that be considered a state highway?
Well, it's 340 until it gets to 40. When you're
You're
coming
right. That's a good point, Brad.
I don't think it is 340 south of 40. I don't know. I mean, the crazy thing about this is, here we go again. You've got government on many levels. Nobody could pick up the phone from MoDOT and say, hey, Chesterfield, we're thinking about putting these, what they call, bump outs on Clarkson Road, and here's the reason why. And the people at Chesterfield.
Yeah. Well, first of all, Brad, before they call, they would need to text.
Right.
Like that's current protocol in 2025. You know that.
Right.
But also, and Ben Keathley's brought that up as well as folks from the city of Chesterfield, is that they said that the folks at the city of Chesterfield said they had no idea that this was going to happen. And also, as part of Ben Keathley's bill, as he pointed out in the Channel 4 interview, is that cities the tenuous issue here is that you don't want cities to have complete veto power over every state project. So, for example, if the state wanted to do something on a highway, you can't have a city veto, improvements to an exit ramp. So there has to be a reasonable balance there. But Keathley's point is, look, you have to give these cities, every municipality, a heads up before you're going to do something like this, because it affects, snow removal. It affects so much from your constituents.
Well, and as you know, I mean, I don't go on Clarkson a lot, but there are a couple fire stations along there, and I've been in Clarkson, I don't want to say like within the last 6 months, but I've been in Clarkson in the past where ambulances, police cars, and fire trucks, when it jams up, especially in the afternoon drive traffic, they drive up and down the shoulder. I'm like, okay, fine. But
absolutely, they sure do.
Right. And if you don't know what we're talking about, maybe I should probably have said this beginning. They're these small little, I guess what you'd call them almost like a median, kind of like an island. And they're
probably 6 inches tall. What would you say, about 2 feet wide, maybe?
Yeah, about 2 feet wide and about maybe 15, 20 feet long. Is that about right, would you think?
Yeah, I think that's about right, yeah.
And they have the little reflector things on them, like, hey, don't hit this. It's going
just enough to but they're tall enough just to be able to destroy your car.
Right, exactly. Especially if you have an SUV or pickup truck, you'd probably go right over the top of it. But you're driving most cars now. Most cars sit very low to the ground. You're going to take out your suspension, your oil pan, your transmission, all sorts of things. And now they're going to rip these things out. I mean, talking about taking money, putting it in a pile and putting lighter fluid and dropping a match on it. I mean,
I think most of them have been removed, by the way, Brad, because this past week I drive Clarkson virtually every day, and was a lot of construction on the shoulder. And I shouldn't say construction, maybe destruction. I believe all the bump outs are out, but I'm not 100% sure.
So that means they're not going to do them on Newhall's Ferry and NoCo then?
Yeah, I'm guessing that they've seen a bad idea and will stop putting good money after bad.
Exactly what you said. What I find fascinating about governments on all levels is that it's monkey see, monkey do. Okay? No, am I being?
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. I'm just laughing because that's accurate, Brad.
Well, it's to the point where when I always get. I know this sounds like, when I was a younger man back in the hippy dippy area in the 60s and 70s, and you'd have the quote unquote rednecks would say, hey, my country, love or leave it, to be idea, but if you don't like it. But it always drives me nuts when you hear, especially the progressives, say, well, in Europe, okay, if Europe is so great, move there.
Just get over there. Yeah,
right.
You want to live over there with 6 months paid vacation and a 90% tax rate? Go do it.
Right, go move to Europe. Just like Ellen DeGeneres did and Rosie O'Donnell. Well, I don't know if technically that's not Europe. Is the United Kingdom, is that considered to be Europe? No, is it? It's not, is it?
Let's lump them in there. Well,
okay.
I guess technically they had Brexit, remember? I guess this goes back to the idea of Ben Keathley's done a great job on this. And I got this in my mailbox maybe on Friday, sometime around there. And I remember thinking, this is a great example because this piece doesn't look like a traditional end of session report that nobody opens and is super boring and it just has a generic template. Like Ben did a really good job with this. And his bill was 665. MoDOT had their own bill to mandate these in every community. And that was Bill 666.
Whoa. No, they didn't.
Yeah, it was sent from Satan himself.
Yeah, Satan himself. I don't get it. Okay, next thing. Do you know all this crap that's going on in Brentwood? Have you read the story about all this stuff in Brentwood?
No, what's happening there?
Well, they're trying to do this eminent domain thing. And I have a serious problem with eminent domain. If you know the story, the city has apparently some developers contacted them. And since the advent of the St. Charles development, streets of St. Charles right there at 70 and 5th Street, this has now become every community wants the exact same thing, which essentially is what they're going to be doing in Chesterfield. That's the whole concept. They're going to, what they call it, downtown Chesterfield or something like that, where they're tearing down the mall and they want to have this mixed use area. And in case you have not seen what Streets of St. Charles is, it truly is a mixed use area. They've got restaurants. They've got like a big monster building that has some restaurants in it, like Bar Louie, and then they've got
and Prosino. Don't forget Prosino.
Right. Well, but that's actually in another building, like sort of across the street. And
good point. Okay.
And then they have
point.
people that live above it in apartments, and then they have hotels, and they have theater, and they have comedy club, and they have all sorts of different things. Okay, that's the new concept. Okay, they're trying to do the same thing in Brentwood, and some developers come in and said, "Hey, we're going to spend, I think, like close to $500 million, like $400 million." But what they're going to do is they're going to eminent domain. I believe it's like, was it like 440 acres or something like that? They're taking like a couple blocks of Brentwood and essentially just saying, hey, your business, and they've done the old blighting routine where they come along and they go, oh, this area is blighted, and they show pictures of like a building that's got a little peeling paint on it and a parking lot that's got a couple weeds growing up and some cracks in the surface. Oh, this area is blighted. And I've said this all along, okay? You know how you fix this problem? You amend the state constitution that on eminent domain, you to determine fair market value of the property, and then the payout is 10 times fair market value. So if somebody has a piece of property that's worth $200,000, you want to eminent domain them, give them $2 million. And the crazy thing about this is people go, well, hold on a minute now, that makes the project more expensive. They're already bragging about the fact that they're going to spend close to $500 million. What's a few more $1 million to get these people out, you know? And to the point where bothers me about this is, being a small business person, most of these people are small business people. They're not big corporate people that have, they call their in-house counsel and say, go fight city Brentwood. And I think this is just absolutely positively wrong. And I can't believe what bothers me about this is how in the world can city fathers sit there and say, those people have been there for 20, 30 years. Their time's up. It's time for something new. We're just going to take their property from them. John, your opinion?
I think the money is probably attractive enough. And I think that if you have a company, and in the old days, right, it would be THF that had a pretty good model that would go into a city. And Brad, you know way more about this than I do, but correct me if I'm wrong here. A company like THF, which is a development company, would come in and work with a Walmart and other giant retailers and go to a city and say, here is our plan. Here's where you're going to put it in your city. Here's how you're going to handle traffic. Here's the millions and billions and zillions that you can promise taxpayers and economic activity it will bring. Okay, can you pass this at next month's city council?
Right, exactly.
Right? Like they would come with a pre-made agenda and then make it very easy. And by the way, they would have millions of dollars to give away in jobs and wink, wink, right?
Well, I don't know. I mean, see, people talk about Europe all the time, okay? Mark Reardon just got back from a trip. He was gone for like a week and a half. I'm thinking to myself, that guy's got the world's best job. I don't think he's worked a full week on the air, and I don't know how long. But he's always off. He's always off on Fridays. He goes to Las Vegas, stuff like that. Anyway, he got back from Europe. And he talked about the fact that there are buildings that predate Christ. Okay? Think about that. Okay? Buildings that predate Christ. Here in the St. Louis area, I've told the story before. It's been a long time. When I was still teaching in the community college district, I taught up at Flow Valley, 270 Tech for a long time. And at one point in time, they wanted me to teach a class, and I did for 2 semesters out at their West County Center, which was a brand new building on the corner of Clayton and Clarkson Road. And 10 years later, they knocked that building down. I'm going like, I drove by one day and I'm going, what happened to the building I used to teach in? And that's where the Lifetime, what is it, Lifetime Fitness, is that what it is?
Lifetime Fitness, yeah, where you can be a guy and take a shower with women. Yeah.
Right.
But we digress. Yeah, it's right there at the corner. That would be the north east corner of Clarkson and Clayton.
Right. Do you remember that building that was there?
I don't remember the old building. I only remember it since Lifetime Fitness.
Well, it wasn't an old building because, like I said, I taught there in the 90s. And at that point in time, and the interesting part of it was they built the building. I think it was Frucon, the development company. They built the building, and they specifically built an extra wing on it, which they leased to the St. Louis Community College District. And that was essentially because the St. Louis Community College had the North County branch, and they had the Merrimack branch down there off of Big Bend, but they didn't have a West County branch, and now it's out. They built that new complex off of 109 south of Manchester, and south of 100, whatever you want to call it, Old Manchester. And the building was there, and they tore it down. Okay, here we go. In my lifetime, we've had 3 Busch stadiums. Okay, you go to Italy, and you see the Colosseum, which still stands, which dates back to Roman days, right? Why is it that we, and once again, we talked about this not too long ago, the Cardinals come out and said, oh, the stadium's 20 years old. It needs a lot of work. We need the state to give us money. I'm sorry, Cardinals. TS. You know what I'm saying? I mean. Yeah,
tough shoot right there.
Right. I mean, I don't get it.
Here's the thing, though, but let me defend Brentwood and Chesterfield here too. You probably haven't seen St. Louis County has the Jordon Hudson rule, which is if something is older than 2000, that's Bill Belichick's girlfriend. If something is older than 2000, just scrap it and start clean. Like, do you want something that was born in the 90s, Brad? Not when you can get something that's a 2000 model or later. You know what I mean?
Ours, Bill, is born in the 50s. I think he was born in 52.
Yeah. Well, yeah, but it's okay. I mean, if you're a man, that's fine. But you know what I'm saying? Buildings are kind of like women. Like, once they get, if it's before 2000, why would you possibly keep it around?
You know, that Jordon Hudson, I'm 89. She does not know what an old man is like. She should.
She sure doesn't.
She should hook up with me. I'm telling you, Jordan, dump that Bill Belichick guy. The bizarre thing of that is, I saw that interview over the weekend again. Don't ask me. It came up on one of my feeds. You know the interview we're talking about where she piped up and said, don't answer that question.
Yeah, I remember. You told me about it.
He's wearing a navy shirt with a hole in it. I'm going like...
Maybe that's the fashion. Maybe that's what 24-year-old women want, Brad. I don't know. You don't know.
I have no idea.
Maybe they want to see a little bit of a geriatric belly. Who knows?
No, it was on his chest. It was up high.
Even better, Brad. Maybe she's a chess guy. I thought of you over the weekend because I saw a headline that claimed that the University of North Carolina has revoked her security privilege.
I saw that as well too. She's not allowed in the locker room or in the administrative building for the sports complex or anything like that. Wasn't that the deal?
I think it was. And I remember one time, the first time I met her, she was outside there was a radio office that used to be off Kisker. And I remember seeing this hot chick banging on the door. And then I went up to her and she's like, but Brad. And I go, there's another one. Yeah. It's like being back in the old KSLQ days, you know?
Right. She dumped me for Bill Belichick. Now the story comes out. John, it's the truth. Jordan and I were an item.
She was only 23 then, so you got her prime years.
Man, I tell you. And over the weekend, you know the story over the weekend when she missed Maine? She came in 7th place or something like that?
Oh, no, I didn't see that.
Yeah, but that's not the first time she's been in. Before, she was like next runner-up, number 2 or something like that. So I guess because of the fact she's now, a whole 24 years old, her beauty is fading at 24. Isn't that what it is?
Hey, they age like milk, Brad.
I, for one, I'm thinking to myself, hey, whatever. To me, do you have a problem with the age difference like that? If you were like 73, would you mind having a 24-year-old girlfriend, John?
Yeah, only if I had like heart medication. You have to think at a certain point the taxing that would have on your circulatory system. But other than that, like philosophically, of course not. And the beautiful thing is that you'll always have post-wall women, like women who are past the wall, like women in their 30s and older, will try to shame men like Bill Belichick for actually like cashing in their chips and scoring a younger woman. And then when women complain about stuff like that, or white knight beta men, you just smile and nod and you say, oh yeah, that's so terrible. I want an old bat that can talk to me about the Dick Van Dyke Show. Just agree with them and make them think they're right.
I like the Dick Van Dyke Show.
You would, Brad. I think that's, I've never watched it, but it seems like something you would like.
He falls over the ottoman. Okay.